the thing I want you to stay on there
Okay.
because we got to download the information.
Okay.
Okay.
Hello, welcome to My Couch Your Life. I'm your host, Dr. Patricia Busby-Robinson. Boy, do I have a treat for you guys today. We're talking about grief, and I'm so pleased to have these two young ladies with me that has experienced that. Their strength is tremendous on what they will be sharing with us today regarding grief. For grief is universal. Universal. Everyone will have at least one encounter with this thing we call grief. It may be from a death of a loved one. It may be from a loss of a job. It may be at the end of a relationship. Anything that alters our life, okay, is where we are. Grief is also very personal. Even though you may have similar stories and things like that, it is different for everybody. And I'm here today with Minister DeAlexandria. I know she don't want me to say that. Shay Jones, and I'm here with Teresa Busby. Okay. They both lost sons in tragic car accidents, but their stories are they're similar, but they're so different. Because I did not know this that both of them lost their sons on July 1st. It's different years, but July 1st, nonetheless. Okay. So today I want to kind of get their input on where they are today versus where they're going, right? Where they are today versus where they were when it first happened. Okay. So who wants to start first? Would you like to go, Miss Jones?
Yes, ma'am. I would love to. Hi, everyone. My name is DeAlexandria Jones. I am the mother of Key Iris Grown. He died July 1st, 2014. And the grief process for me, I felt like it was extremely long. And I felt like I couldn't get out of this box because every time I turned, there was my son's face. There was something there reminding me of him. And back then we lived in an apartment complex. So of course my husband and I and Kiara stayed in an apartment complex. So during that time, I thought I was okay to go back to my apartment where we started growing a family together. But as time prolonged, I began to do things and it made me feel like I was losing my mind. I know I heard him in my sleep. I jumped up out of my sleep every morning to get him dressed for school. I had clothes laid out. And the thing about that was he was not there. And I broke down continually because it was only me, my husband, and him in the apartment complex. So when my husband started back working, I felt like I was in a box and I was by myself. I was drowning in my grief. And as time went along, my husband said he couldn't take the fact I was at home alone because I kept having breakdown after breakdown after breakdown. And I kept asking God, why me out of everybody? Why me? I do everything I'm supposed to do as a mom. I do my best. I push forward. I pray. I do what I have to do. I work. Like, God, why me? Why did you choose me? God, I do everything right. But then growing into ministry, it wasn't about always doing things right. It was about who God already created me to be, and he know what he instilled in me. He knew that I was able to take on what he was about to do in my life. Not every parent go through grief the same way. And I had to learn it. And when those doors start shedding on me and those four walls closed in on me after funeral arrangements, family being around for that certain amount of time, I had to learn how to cry in my grief. I had to learn how to tell God, God, help me through this. I don't know why you did it, but God, just help me. I don't have an answer, but God, I need you to help me. I cried. I cried day in and day out. I cried for years. Even after 2014, I cried, cried. Every year July 1st came around, I cried and I cried because in that moment I felt like my life shattered because that day was the day I got a call that I did not want to hear. And I got a call from a cousin, not knowing what happened to my child. I was getting ready to get up to go get my child. But when she called, I'm like, my child is on his way to my mom's house. Ain't nothing happened to him. And something kept telling me, do not get on social media. Do not get on social media. But me, I got on social media just to see my 5-year-old son on social media and people saying rest in peace with me
Wow.
not even knowing what really happened to him in that process. So if you're grieving, grieve, cry, scream, ask God why. He's our daddy. Why not ask him why? He
Right.
created us. He know who we are. He know what he created us to be. So why can't we ask him why? He's going to give us answers. But in that process, I didn't know which way to turn because it was just me and my one child and my husband. So
Right.
even in that, I cried. I'm gonna be honest. I cried day in, day out. I cried. I cried. I cried. I was angry. I was angry with God. If you want me to be very transparent, I was angry. I felt like God took something that made me a better person every day on this journey of being a mom. He made me a better mom. He made me want to get up. He made me want to work. He made me want to push forward to be the best version of myself every day. And I was angry at God. Like, God, why you pick me? You come pick somebody else. Why me? But then in my asking why, of course, we have elderly people saying, don't ever question God. Don't ever question
Right.
God. But
Right.
for me, they couldn't tell me not to question God because that was my child. That's who God gave me. That's who I birthed into this world. So why can't I ask God why? Like, why can't I ask him why? Yes, I was angry. I was frustrated. Tears
Mm-hmm.
just rolled every day. Even if I go to the cemetery, I cry.
Right.
Nothing could heal me. Nobody could heal me but God.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that, God still did what God needed to do. He
Yeah.
made me who I am today. And because of that, I'm a healed woman. I'm a powerful woman. I am a woman of God. I'm a woman in ministry. I have a husband. I was able to birth 2 more children. And I
Yes.
have to love them in spite of, I have to love them beyond what I feel or what I think. They even show me how to love them. So God did not take away everything. He doubled everything. In the Bible, it tells us that God give us double for our troubles. God has been giving me double after double after double. I'm a healed woman. I'm a proud woman of God. Yes, I'm a daughter of the Most High God. And I'm proud to say He's my Father. Yes, it was a process. Yes, I was angry. But through my process and my anger, He built me. He
Mm-hmm.
molded me to be a healed woman today, to be able to talk about this story of losing a son. And I'm grateful. Every day I'm grateful because I get to be a mom again. I get to love again. But this time around, God is showing me how to love these babies. He's
Yeah.
showing me how to love them from a place of being healed and not broken. Because if
Wow.
I'm broken, I can't love them. But if
Mm-hmm.
I'm healed, I can love them.
Wow. Wow. That is powerful. So from where you was then, and want to point out with social media, it's so often, most of the time, social media appears to get the news before the loved ones that should have the news get the news. And it is important for us to kind of, for anybody that's on social media, and use that platform, I want us to start being cognizant and conscious of us putting stuff on social media when someone else's loved one has died, being sensitive of where they are at that time, because you don't know where a person is at that time, and you just go posting it on social media, not understanding that this is somebody's child. They may not even have had the news. And you're sharing it. And I understand you may be hurting, but be sensitive to that knowledge of the family that's going through it, that actually going through it. Like you said, you had to get on social media, and there you go, just bombarded with these things about your child before somebody has even came and told you what has happened. So from that time and all those emotions that you were going through, and anger is part of the grief process. You're supposed to have anger. You're supposed to be in denial. All of those are part of the 5 stages of grief. And what I want to point out is that none of that have to be like you got to hit every stage. Like, okay, they said denial first, then anger, then no, it's not one size fits all. Like I said, everybody go different. You may get angry 1st. You may skip the the part where, okay, let's come into some resolve about it, because ain't gonna be no resolve, right? You may skip the bargaining part, right? You may just skip that and go straight into anger and hit depression. Then you may come back to bargaining. Oh God, do this, do that. You know how we go into things, Lord, if you do this, I'll do this if you do that, and go to bargaining. So you don't have to go through all those stages, like first denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. When those stages came about, she did not create that for everybody to feel like you hit everything, right? So from that ball of emotion that you were feeling when you got the news, you say you're a healed woman now. I want you to speak on how you got there to where you are today, because I tell people all the time, it will be times where you may cry. You thinking you okay about it, but holidays come, you cry, or you hear a song that they may like, you get emotional about it, and that's okay. That doesn't mean you haven't made progress, right? It doesn't mean that you aren't in a healed place or a place of healing, but you are making progress, and you got a right to feel those emotions. And everybody go through it differently. We all experience and go through it differently. So how did you get to that place of, okay, I feel like I'm okay?
Back in, I want to say June of 2019, I went to church, and no, actually, I'm going to say this. I birthed 2 kids. Now, I have birthed kids, and I'm thinking I'm okay. I think this. I think I'm okay. I'm fine. Birthing my daughter brought out my real feelings about the death of my first son. Because I birthed 2 kids. But at that time, my husband worked night shift. So it was only me and my 2 children at home. Mind you, I had children back to back. They only a year apart. So I had to lay on my face one night, and I cried out to God. I said, God, I can't do it. God, you got to help me. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to live this life? How am I supposed to love these children when I cry continually? It don't stop. I'm crying. This is 2019. I'm still crying. And I will never forget, one Sunday, went to church, and at that time, my bishop was Bishop Zedrick Clay. He got up and he preached a sermon. He said, the problem is the devil try to trap you and make you think and remember about that day. So he make it an anniversary for you. So when it's coming up to that day, you already shut down. You already don't want to talk to people. You do what you want to do. You don't want to be around people, and you cry. You cry. You cry. Because guess why? You spoke it.
Wow.
You speak it out of your mouth. The devil heard you. So he made it where every year around that time, it was an anniversary for you, but an anniversary to drown in your own tears and sorrow. That day changed my life. I cried. I cried because I knew he was talking to me. I knew this. And in that moment, He called and said, if you need prayer, come to the altar. I went to the altar. When I went to the altar, I knew then, God, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be a healed woman. I can't raise 2 children if I'm not healed. I said,
Okay.
God, I can't keep doing this. They are babies. They do not know what went on. They don't know what's happening. I want to love them like I loved him. I want to show them the same type of love. I don't want to make them feel like I cannot love them because of what I went through of losing a child before them that they didn't even know about.
Right.
In that moment, he came to me, and I never forget this prophecy. He said, you already know what I'm about to say. And tears just ball. I was bawling with tears. Clothes wet. I had on a blue jean dress. I never forget. Wet. And he said, God called you to ministry. He called you to evangelize. He didn't call you to drown in your sorrow. It's time for you to step out, and you need to heal. And in that moment, I said, God, you calling me to ministry? I'm going to be honest. In the back of my mind, I said, God, you calling me to ministry? Now, sir, I said, whatever you say, I'll do. Yes to your will, yes to your way. I said, but ministry, sir, that's a big leap after
Right.
losing a child. And he said, be obedient to me, and I'm going to lead the way. 2019, I let God lead the way. When I accepted my calling, God started healing me in the process. Every day was a different level of healing. Every day. It still didn't make it easier. But every day I was beginning to become a healed woman. And me being healed and saying yes to God, ministry became a number one thing in my life besides being a wife and a mom. Ministry was on my top list because I said to myself, if God got me out of that situation and I'm still in my right mind and I still got every activities of my limb, I'm going to do everything that God called me to do, because I could have lost my mind. I could have been in a straitjacket. I couldn't have birthed 2 more kids. I couldn't have been a wife if it wasn't for God and his grace and mercy. And he's keeping his hands on me. So every day became a new healed day for me. So every day after then, I became a healed woman, a healed woman. I'm leveling up from being down here to here. I'm going up a ladder. Every day, I'm going up a step. Every day, I'm going up a step.
Okay.
Until I got around women and they asked me, how do you feel about it? And I had to open up my mouth and tell my story. Me opening up my mouth, telling my story, healed me.
Wow.
Because I kept everything in and it didn't help me. But because I opened up and said how I felt and what I went through, I became a healed woman more and more. My Bible made me a healed woman. I prayed. It made me a healed woman. Me keeping God first made me a healed woman. And being able to say, it's okay to cry. Cry. Even now, I have 2 children. I cry. It's not because of grief. It's because of the joy of the Lord, the blessings of the Lord, and what he have brought me from into. Now I'm able to look at children and cry because I'm happy, because I'm healed, because my son asked me, Mom, why you ain't never told me about KD?
Wow.
And my mouth dropped because I put a time limit on when I was going to tell them about him. I said, when they get a little older, I'm going to tell them. Right now, they're babies. They don't understand.
Right.
But God had to show me, are you really healed? Are you ready to talk about that with your babies? And I cried. Ask my mom, I cried. Because I said, God, you didn't prepare me for this one. But God had to tell me, you were prepared. You just thought he was going to be older. But he wasn't. So even in that, I still have to be the woman God called me to be in this season of being a healed woman. I have to look like a healed woman, respond like a healed woman. If I don't, then how am I able to tell somebody else about the goodness of God, the grace and the mercy of God? How can I tell you what the word of the Lord say if I'm not walking in that being a healed woman?
Yes.
So it's still a process. Either way you take it, it's a process. My
Mm-hmm.
grieving process was longer. My healing process was shorter. So even in that, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for both processes because it's still building me. Because grief can be anything. It can be more than a child's death. It can be church hurt. It can be friend hurt, family member hurt. Any little thing is grief. Job hurt. It can happen. So grieving is grieving. But you
Yes.
have to grieve in order to heal. Don't let nobody tell you you ain't got to do all that. Yes, you do. Yes, you
Mm-hmm.
do. If you got to bust down the church doors to get what you need, get there. Lay on
Yes.
that altar every Sunday until God start muscling you up to be what he needs you to be. Let God know how you feel. Don't nobody know how you feel but God. But God
Right.
want to hear you say how you feel and what you're thinking. Tell God. He already know, but you just need to open up your mouth and see. He will
Right.
always send you people that will cover you in prayer. People that you might not even know.
Mm-hmm.
People you have never met. They're gonna be circled and they're gonna pray for you. And in that prayer, you're gonna become a healed person because God is building you even in need. So
Right.
grieving is a good thing. Grieving is a good thing. But being healed is even better. So you
Right.
still gotta go through the process.
Right.
Don't skip the process. Go
Right.
through it. Take your time. It's okay.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. That is wonderful. I mean, even now I know for when you're dealing with grief being a clinician, and especially when I worked in the prison setting, right?
Mhm.
Most of the time they tell us to look out for, for the holidays when it comes to inmates that have lost loved ones that is in prison and things like that. So I can imagine that is still tough, right? For when you have lost loved ones and lost, especially with children, and it's different for everything. But when a mom, I had an older lady tell me that all grief is bad, right? But it's a different kind of pain you experience when you lose a child.
Mm-hmm.
When a woman lose a child, they say it's a pain you cannot even describe.
Mm-hmm.
And this was an older lady. She said she have lost her mom, she have lost dad, but it hit her completely different when she lost her child.
Mm-hmm.
you know and everybody experience it different. It looks different, and you have to continue to pull up your bootstraps,
Mm-hmm.
and keep going, especially when you have children.
Yes.
You don't get a chance to truly just all the way break down. You want to stay strong for your children and things like that. Let me tell you, I want to cancel that right now. Let's cancel this be strong thing
Yes.
that you got going on.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
because guess what? You're teaching your children that it's okay to cry. It's
Yep.
okay that if you're in pain to show that emotion,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're showing them that don't bottle it up, because that's not healthy to keep that bottle up, because it's going to show out one way or the other. It's going
Mm-hmm.
to come out. Whether or not it's emotional going to come out, or whether or not it's going to start attacking your body. And we don't want that to happen, go to attacking our body. Right. So I mean, the strength that you guys have is tremendous. I am so glad you are in the place that you are today versus where you were. Right. Because
Mm-hmm.
with the way that things happen, it's so easy to go to blaming people.
Yes.
Well, if he would have been with me, or he would have, things like that. You
I
question. I
did
know
it.
all of that stuff goes
I
through
did
your
it.
mind. And guess what? That's okay.
Yep.
That's okay, right? That's okay to be in that type of space, because I know everybody have experienced it in some way or the form. And my
Mm-hmm.
first time really experiencing grief for me was when my grandmother died. And I was in college. I was at Delta State at the time. And my grandmother on my dad's side died. And I tell you, when she died, it happened during the time of Thanksgiving, before Thanksgiving break. And I was going to school, but I wasn't going to school, if that makes sense. I was going every day, but my mind wasn't there. My
Mm-hmm.
focus wasn't there. I was just existing. And I can admit that that's where I was. I was literally existing. And you know what? My grades showed it. But I literally was just existing. But that was the first person really close to me that had died. And it really took a big strain on me. So I know exactly where you are. And then that enemy tried to show itself again when I was able to go back to school and everything. I started, in the summertime on going to school, and because Teresa Busby, if you guys don't know, is my sister. And during that time when the incident happened with my nephew, he died on July 1st, like I was telling you, Miss Jones. And I literally had to go to school the next day. I had to go sit in somebody's classroom the next day after that happened. So I didn't have time to even process, what happened. And I'm old enough and mature enough to admit that. Right? Because life didn't stop. If I would not have went in summer school, if anybody been in college, short. If you miss a day out of there, you might as well go and drop the class. So I had to push through to make it, but it was difficult. It was a difficult process. So Miss Teresa, I want you to share with the people your story, where you were when it happened, the emotions that you felt, where you emotionally were then and where you are today. You're muted, love.
You're in.
Okay, you're unmuted. Okay.
Well, mine was a little bit different. I always say I said it's a counter from God. I had a counter for God in June. And in a dream I had the counter. It was like somebody broke into my house and robbed me. I got shot. Man got shot. But in the dream, it was like God showed me his whole furniture. The whole furniture, the gold casket, the blue suits, the Supermans and the Vastamans and the casket. And at that time, I wasn't spiritual as I am now. And that's okay, it's just a dream. July the 1st, I got that phone call. At 6:00 p.m. I never forget it because I was cooking. And my daughter that's 15 now, she was like a month old. And I just couldn't understand why the daddy didn't call me. But my uncle called me. Bear was the one that called me and said, Toot, Andrew didn't want to call and tell you that man died. And I was like, man, y'all playing. Man, that boy playing. Man died. But before that, June the 30th, I called my baby. June 29th. Let's go back to June 29th. When he went to my grandma's house, which is my mama. And my grandma had baked a cake. And she said, she called him Bozo. And he said, Grandma, give him a piece of that cake. And she said, Bozo, I'm baked you some Sunday. And at that time, he was 7. And he smiled at her. He looked back. He said, son, it's going to be too late. And I'm like, what? He said, son, it's going to be too late. Not knowing that he was speaking what God had already confirmed to him.
Mm-hmm.
And so June 29th, I called him. He was at his dad's house. And I said, man, I said, I'm going to be over there July the 1st to bring you some fireworks for you and your sister. And he said, Mom, he said, I always remember, I love you. He said, don't never forget that I doesn't love you. And you take care of my sister, which is Jayla now, because she was a baby then.
Mm-hmm.
And I hung the phone up, and then I called her daddy back. I said, did you just hear what man said? He said, oh, he just talking. I said, nah, man talking like he's going to leave. And July the 1st, I got that phone call and saying that he was gone at 6:00 p.m. I was cooking. I had forgot about my baby. I had left JJ at home. I was trying to get to the railroad track.
Wow.
I was trying to get there and see what that phone call really real.
Wow.
And I called my mom. I said, Mom, they said, man just got killed. And she said, where you at? I said, I'm in the middle of the highway. I'm waiting on you. I'll be in the middle of the road, and I'll be waiting on you.
Wow.
And we got there at the railroad track. And I just couldn't believe it. You know, sometimes you could take stuff and you be like,
Mm-hmm.
is it really true? Is
Right.
it really sinking in? But until you get to that scene and you see that. And I just thank God that I'm not where I was back then. I'm stronger now.
Man.
It wasn't easy then because I stayed at my mom's house when after all that happened. My mom bought me this book one of her friends gave her about healing from grief. And you know me, I took the book and just laid it down there because right then I was asking God, how can you bless me with a child and take a child from me?
Oof.
Wow.
Okay.
How can you let me celebrate his birthday and knowing he was leaving?
Wow.
And to this day, I still can't find them pictures of his birthday at 7 years old. And that right there made me look on the whole aspect of people. Even if it was God playing,
Right.
I just, I look at stepmom different now,
Yes, Lord.
because I didn't understand how can I trust you all with my child.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, at that point, I just thought that, well, maybe my child, you didn't love my child the way you said you love him. Or you didn't care about my son because you was mad at the dad. So you felt like it was okay to send your son back with your brother, knowing that he was intoxicated, knowing that he was playing with a train. I just couldn't understand why. And until God spoke to me and told me to call her. He said, get on Messenger and call her and tell her you forgive her. And I didn't understand why, God. Why you want me to forgive her?
Right.
And I understood then that forgiveness wasn't for her. It was for
for
God
you.
to use me.
Right.
And I, I kept a lot of stuff from family members. I could tell people about suicide because I would have been there.
Yes,
I could
ma'am.
tell people about depression because I'd have been there.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am.
But I did my grief in silent because I felt like that if I told somebody or if I told my mama, would she seek help from me or would she put it in, give me mental health evaluation? But I wanted God to do the healing.
Yes.
I wanted God to fix me. But even when I went to church and the years passed by and I thought I was healed from it, and I went to this church one night and a man, prophet of Brandy Obama, I will never forget it, great ministry in Salt, Mississippi. And I was getting ready to leave the church, and he told me, he said, come here, Sister Teresa. And I went up there, and he said, God said, if you keep on holding that grief inside your heart, if you keep on blaming yourself, he said, you're going to die with a broken heart.
Wow.
He said, you're going to die with a broken heart. And I just broke down because I never told my family member that when his birthday come on May the 21st, I sit in my room, and I just question God, why? Why? I will never get a chance to go to mother and son dance. I'll never get that chance, but my kids are my background. My kids are my strength.
Mm-hmm.
I got on this man live, and I sent the video to my sister. And I tried to find the video, but I can't find it. But I got on this man live, and he from New York. He was a prophet from New York. And in the video, he said, Teresa, don't get out live. I got something to tell you. I said, Lord, what is it now, Jesus? I always question God. What is it now? And he said, don't get off the line. And I stayed on the line. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning. I stayed up on that line. And he said, Teresa, I had an encounter. He said, I had an encounter with your son. And your son want me to tell you, Mama, don't cry no more. Mama, don't cry no more. He's okay. He said, I'm okay. And when I finally went back to my house, in my mobile home, and I got the strength to go back home, I lay in that bed. JJ was a little baby then, and there was a time my uncle died, DJ Earl died, and I laid in my bed. I just hear footsteps in the hallway. And I said, man, it's okay. Mama gonna be all right. It's okay. And every day I hear her footsteps. until I told him it was gonna be okay. And then on May the 21st, I'll never forget it. When his birthday coming around, I feel a cool breeze on my neck. And I said, all right, man, happy birthday. Mom loves you. And I never felt again. But I had to get in the place to ask God, why not me? And he let me know that you're stronger. You're stronger than what you think you are. And I don't hate the stepmom. I don't hate her. I found peace with God with it, but I don't believe in stepmom. I don't believe in that no more. That crushed me because I look at stepmom as a whole different way now. But I had to forgive her for God to work on me.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell anybody, if you just trust God in the process, if you just trust Him with the battle, you will win. I ain't gonna say I'm not healed like you, Jones.
It's a process. It's a process.
I'm just gonna be real with you. Every day is a struggle for me. To this day. And my baby been dead 15 years. It's still a struggle for me. But God told me if I just get healed and just give it to Him, He'll use me to help other women who've been through what I've been through. And it's still a struggle. I look at it, it's still a struggle for me. And my baby, if I hear that song, Too Close to the Mirror, that'll bring a trigger to me because that's my baby favorite church song. You know, it's just a trigger to me. But I always remind myself, if Joel did it, why can't I make it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
He say the battle to Joel. He didn't say that the battle was going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
He just wants you to endure the pain in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants you to be able to see that there's light after the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And forgiveness, I forgive them. I really do. I forgive them. But what I don't forget, I will not forget. And I'm gonna be real with you. God knew what He was doing, because if that man would have survived, I'd probably be in an orange suit. I'm just gonna be real with you. Because I didn't understand, how can you play with people's children with a train? And I didn't understand why, just because you was mad at the daddy, you sent the kids back. Ain't nobody gonna tell me that you didn't know that he was high. You didn't know he was drunk. Ain't nobody gonna tell me that, because the drug test showed y'all. So it's just a process with me. I'm not here with you, baby. I'm just gonna be real with you. Every day's a process. I still don't like the month of July. I still don't like that month of July, but I get past it because I got other kids. I ain't gonna make them suffer so they can't get fireworks because what I've been through. But it's a process, and I have a strong support system. I did most of my grief in private. And I know the devil plays in my mind, because there have been many times I concentrate on suicide. I'm just going to be real.
For God.
Well, God had to remind me that you're stronger than what the enemy says. And I have a lot of people that stands in the gap for me and pray for me. You know. And I know it's not easy. I'm not going to tell nobody it's easy, because it's not. But I always remind myself, if Joel can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
If Joel made it, I can do it. In spite of all that, I was still blessed to have another child after that.
Yes.
I was still blessed. And I was blessed with a mom who loved my child unconditionally. I was blessed with a mom that was stronger. I think she took a little bit harder than me, but you know, I just did my grief in private, you know. Can't nobody fix a broken heart but God.
Right. That is true.
Can't
and He is one that can do it. You're right.
So,
girl, I'm gonna tell you something. You is you. I ain't gonna say you helping me, but you are helping me, right? Because I just, like I said, I didn't have a time to go through that process because I had to go to school the very next day, right? And I have somebody on here saying they lost their mom They just lost their mom July 1st. Wow, Miss Jacqueline Carter, we are going to stand in the gap for you. And Miss Lowe, Dr. Lowe said, if Mary can do it, you can do it.
Yes. Yes.
Because she watched them beat her son, right? She watched it. So, I mean, but grief is not linear. So even though I want the people to understand that even though you two have similar stories, right, there's a lot of similarities there that both of you guys process is different. Right? You at a place, Miss Jones, that Miss Busby ain't there.
Right.
She ain't there yet. Not saying that she won't get there, but today she's not there. And that's okay. Right? That is okay to be. But we got to also allow people the space. We got to allow people the space to grieve at their own pace and how they choose to do so. Right? Like she said, it's been 15 years. And can't nobody say, well, girl, it's been 15 years. You still, yes, I'm still there. And you shouldn't be ashamed to be there. Because everybody grief is different. Everybody go through things different. Ms. Robinson said this is helping her today and everything. And I'm telling you, it is helping me. Because like I said, I never did get the chance to even go to that place that I needed because I had to go straight to school. I couldn't even, I had to go straight to class, after that. And I still have sight of seeing him because I just couldn't believe it. And I'm gonna tell you, Darren, my she's like family, but my sister's one of my sister's mom, she literally had to get me because I'm gonna be honest with you, I was going over there to beat the girl up. I was just seeing red, but that was the place I was in. And I can be honest with that because I had heard she had sent, so I heard the stories. It's not to bash anybody, but I'm just telling you where I was emotionally. That's where I was emotionally. That's the reality of it, and everybody experiences it different. Like she said, she still goes through the place of having an emotional roller. She's still on that roller coaster, deep in the emotion, right? You in the emotion, Miss Jones, but you a little more clear. You seeing a little more clear than she is, right? So both of you guys' stories are similar, and you guys lost your children at young age, 5 and 7. You're both doing it different. And that's okay. So if don't anybody get anything from today, I want them to get that, hey, it's okay to be with whatever space you're in right now. Don't make no excuses for it. You don't owe anybody anything because after the funeral and after the repast, you left alone. To deal. You left alone to deal. And you have to do that in the best way that you can. Right? My only thing that I tell people that go through this is don't create another problem for yourself. Cry if you have to. Holler, scream. But don't resort to drugs and alcohol. And then now you done put another problem on top of this problem because it's only masking what's going on. Right? It's not solving it. You're only prolonging what you need to feel. To heal. And we want healing. We want a process of healing. And however you need to go through that. And if you're going through it, like I said, you walk. So I tell some people you can walk through it if you can. If you can, you can crawl through it if you can. If you got to get on your face. And you know how they be in the military when they see them army moves and how they be going through that mud, just sliding like they're a lizard or a snake or something. If that's what you got to do, you do whatever you got to do. But the key to it is keep moving.
Don't
and
stop.
trust that God is going to do the rest. right? Keep moving and trust that God is going to do the rest. So this has been, oh my God, this has been so good. I mean, because I mean, when I say this has been so good to me, and you guys are some strong women,
To God be the glory.
Mm-hmm.
some strong women, and to hear, and I want to commend you both for sharing it, because it's difficult to relive something. And as I shared with you guys before, what you guys experience isn't just regular grief, it's called traumatic grief, when
Mm-hmm.
you lose your children or lose a loved one in a traumatic way.
Mm.
So you got to give your own. Sometimes we got to pat our own self on the back. And if
Mm-hmm.
we can't do it, we got to give glory to where glory stands.
Mhm.
I know you can't do it upon your own. You guys said, Lord God, I give you the glory that you did this, right? But you guys are been very so transparent. So I want to thank you guys for your transparency. I want
Mm-hmm.
you, Ms. Jones, to share how people can connect with you, to follow you with your ministry and stuff like that. You guys, we trying to get her on YouTube so she can go on and do this stuff. She's got to get out her own way so she can do this stuff. So she can get
Yeah.
on YouTube and share what God has given her and encourage other people. Share with the people where you are and what you're doing.
Okay, I am a minister. I'm in ministry, and I do a lot of TikToks. Like that's where I first started my story because of a Caucasian girl. She asked me to do a story, and I said, God, I ain't trying to talk about no story. I ain't at that place of healing and want to talk about that. So I prayed about it. The next day, God said, do it, and watch me shift. I told my story, and it blessed people. And because of that, I'm grateful. So I try to get on TikTok as much as possible to encourage the people, to pray for them, to even give them a word. So my TikTok is DeAlexandria Jones. My Instagram is DeAlexandria J. And Facebook is DeAlexandria Jones. So YouTube, I don't know my name on there yet. Y'all got to give me a little minute because I'm trying to get used to YouTube. But those are the social media platforms that I'm on the most. But you will see me on TikTok and Facebook Reels a lot, a whole lot. That's what I be on the most. And I just want to say, I know Miss Busby is not where I am, but I will always stand in the gap for my sister in Christ.
Yes,
Because trust me, times are shift for me too. And I don't want to be bothered. So yeah,
right,
it happens. I'm a healed
right,
woman, but I still need prayer too every day.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
Every day. And I just want to let people know, like everybody process is most definitely different. And
mm-hmm.
she talked about Job. I'm reading the book of Job.
Mm-hmm.
And she just don't know. She just made me want to read even more. Cause Job is good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
And Job taught me that pain is not always bad.
mm-hmm.
Pain is not always bad. Pain can
Yes,
be good, but it's just the way it happened and the way
Yeah.
that we see it in the natural that make it look bad. Because when we see it from God's spiritual eyes and from the spiritual realm, then we can see what God sees.
yes. And one thing I tell people all the time, pain is temporary.
Yes, it
Mm-hmm.
is. It
It's
is.
temporary.
It
If you
is.
can endure and go through it, especially that's just like when you having I tell my daughter all the time. I say when you having a baby, and they say no worse form of pain than that, right?
Ooh,
You get
ooh.
ready to have a baby. Oh my God! If they get you in the midst of it, and they say if I can cut your toe off, will you? It won't happen no more. You will say cut it off. That's when you in the thick of it, right? You in the thick of
Mhm.
it. It's unbearable. You can't even do it anymore. But when God is trying to push you to birth something out of you and to
That's
do it,
it.
it
That's
don't
it.
feel good. But that process, that mold and that pruning don't feel good. But on that other side, oh wow, look at the baby.
I'm telling you.
Look at the baby. So it is. I mean, when I say y'all done blessed me today, y'all have blessed me today.
Mhm.
And I know you supposed to be starting this book. I'm trying to get her to get this book going. Miss Jones don't want to do this book. She's got a book in her. She don't want to go ahead and do that. So we're going to pray for her, to God give her the strength to go ahead and birth that book and some other stuff that she's working on, that we're going to make sure and pray that God bring it to fruition.
Yes, please.
For her. Okay. Teresa, what do you have going on, Miss Busby? Now I know she have a book she's been writing on since forever and a day. Let me find the name to it.
I got a picture. It's called A Shadow of a Mother Broken Pieces. It should be out in the middle of July. I ain't gonna make no promise. She sure ain't joking. I've been writing in the middle of the day. It's kind of hard writing a book about your own child.
Tell me that.
I plan to be finished by the end of July. I plan to be releasing it by the end of July. She know I'm release comes to her.
Yeah, so and I will keep you guys posted on that and everything. I hope this has been a blessing to you all. It has been a blessing to me. Any passing words, any ending words for the people, ladies?
Listen, just trust God in the process. You have to trust Him. And my biggest thing that I always talk about is faith. When you have faith, the size of a mustard seed, it can put you in doors and places you have never been in, and you never saw yourself sitting in. So have faith in God, the size of a mustard seed, and trust your process. Trust it, even in your grief, in your healing process. Trust it. Trust them.
What about you, Miss Busby?
If anybody going through something right now, I'm gonna give you one of my favorite scriptures. Don't get weird when we are doing. Because in due season you will reap what you faint not.
Yes.
So keep on walking. Keep on trusting God's plan. Because at the end, it's gonna be victorious. Your story might not be like our story, but we all have a story.
All have a story.
And they're saying love and blessings to you both. They're telling you to come on, Miss Jones, come forth with this book. They said, come on. It's much needed. Come on with the book. Okay. And I want to say that, as I've always said, that the most important relationship that you can have is the one that you have with yourself. How you love yourself, how you show up for yourself, how you get into a place of who you are.
Yes.
Right. And even though you guys are part of your identity, I always ask people, who are you? And they go to read, going out these titles. I'm a mom, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm this, that, and third. But that's not who you are to the core. Right. They are roles that you have. And who you are in Christ got to rise up when trouble comes. Because me being a counselor ain't gonna help me with no trouble. It ain't gonna help me. But knowing who you are and whose you are does matter. This has been good to me. I pray it's been good to everybody else. And I am ending on, y'all are some phenomenal women. Y'all are some strong women. And I want the people to know that if you are experiencing grief, go through your process at your own pace. Give yourself permission to cry. Give yourself permission to be whatever emotions come up for you. Give yourself permission to feel that, to be in that. But one thing about it, I challenge you to keep moving forward.
Yep.
Thank you all and blessings. See you next time. Bye-bye.